Welcome to MDP Coins. We explore one of the most astonishing and intriguing tales in the world of rare coins, a story that grips collectors, history buffs, treasure hunters, and everyday dreamers alike, because today we're talking about the incredible and almost unbelievable rise of a simple 1972 United States 1-cent coin, a coin that most people would walk past on the sidewalk without a second glance. A coin that in its ordinary form is worth practically nothing more than the copper it's made from, yet in this exceptional and highly unusual case is believed by some collectors to have soared to a staggering valuation of around $0.32 million, a number so wildly beyond its face value that it leaves people stunned and eager to know the reasons, the mysteries, the errors, the minting oddities and the accidental masterpieces of metal that can transform what should be a common penny into a near-legendary piece of numismatic gold. So settle in as we peel back the layers of mint history. Mechanical flaws, die imperfections, human oversight, production anomalies, and all the rare possibilities that converge like a perfect storm to create an ultra-valuable penny, the kind of coin that reminds us that sometimes the smallest bits of metal hide the biggest surprises, because the 1972 penny, especially those with dramatic and unusual errors, stands as a perfect example of how something ordinary can become extraordinary. To understand why this specific coin, this 1972 1 cent, is said to be capable of reaching a value as high as $0.32 million, we have to start by diving into the world of coin minting, where billions of coins pass through high-speed machines, dies slam into blanks with the force of industrial precision, and humans supervise the process but cannot possibly control every variable that appears when metal meets motion, heat meets pressure, and thousands upon thousands of repetitions wear down the tools responsible for crafting each coin, because minting errors are like the fingerprints of chaos inside a system designed for perfection, and each type of mistake, whether tiny or dramatic, leaves behind a physical anomaly that collectors crave. In the case of the 1972 cent, there are several kinds of mistakes that could explain such a mind-blowing valuation, but it's important to remember that not every error is created equal. Minor doubling, tiny die scratches, faint misalignments or simple discoloration won't make anyone rich, but extraordinarily dramatic, extremely rare, unmistakable errors, those are the ones that can take a 1-cent coin and lift it into the stratosphere of financial worth, especially when combined with the right level of rarity, visual impact, collector demand, and documented provenance. One of the most famous and desirable error categories for 1972 cents is the double die obverse, where the design elements look like they have been stamped twice, creating a clear doubling in the inscription such as Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date 1972. And although many people have heard of the 1972 double die penny, only a few varieties are truly rare, with the most dramatic ones showing deep, bold, eye-catching doubling that is unmistakable even to someone who has never examined coins before. And it is exactly these kinds of intense, bold errors that fuel the fantasy of a $0.32 million penny, especially if the error is combined with other anomalies that make the coin exponentially rarer. But a high-value error coin often doesn't come from just one mistake. Sometimes it is the combination of multiple errors that stack together in a single strike, making the coin a freak accident of minting history, something like a double die paired with an off-center strike, or a misaligned die that causes part of the design to shift toward the rim, or even a transitional error in which the planchette, the blank metal disc used to make the coin, is not the metal that the mint intended to use for that year, which can happen when leftover planchets from the previous year accidentally slip into the machines, creating hybrid errors that collectors go crazy for. Imagine a 1972 penny that was not only a double die but also struck on the wrong material, such as a leftover brass planchette or an experimental composition, combined with a mint mark mistake like a repunched mint mark, or the absence of a mint mark where one should be present, or even the presence of a mint mark that isn't supposed to appear on that particular issue at all. And now you begin to understand how the theoretical value of $0.32 million starts to form in the minds of collectors who are always searching for the next once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Mint mark errors themselves are their own fascinating category. Repunched mint marks, often abbreviated RPM, occur when the mint mark is punched into the die more than once but slightly offset, so the letter, whether it's a D, S, or another designation, appears doubled or tripled, and though many such errors are subtle, some are dramatic enough that the doubling jumps off the coin, creating a visually striking oddity that amplifies collector interest. Even rarer are situations in which the mint accidentally uses a die intended for one mint facility at another, creating a mismatched or impossible mint mark scenario, though such events are incredibly uncommon. Now let's imagine our hypothetical ultra-valuable 1972 penny possesses a dramatic double die obverse so clear that every doubled letter is bold and unmistakable, paired with a repunched mint mark that shows a strong secondary impression, and perhaps even an off-center strike that shifts the entire image several millimeters away from the center, revealing missing portions of the rim or design. Such a combination would already be wildly valuable, but suppose even further that this coin was struck on an off-metal planchet, say, a leftover bronze blank or a transitional composition with a slightly different weight or color, and maybe it was one of only a handful ever discovered, or even a unique example. Suddenly the idea of a six-figure valuation doesn't sound so impossible. It's the nature of the numismatic market: rarity plus error magnitude plus visual appeal plus collector demand equals the potential for enormous value. Another important element in the valuation of any rare coin is condition. The state of preservation dramatically affects worth, and the difference between a circulated coin and a near-perfect mint-state specimen can be enormous. A coin with monster errors but heavy wear might attract collectors, but one preserved in near-pristine condition, bright, lustrous, and sharply detailed could skyrocket in value in a way that shocks even seasoned numismatists. Imagine our hypothetical 1972-era penny not only possesses multiple dramatic errors but is also in an extraordinary mint-state grade, perhaps MS66, MS67, or even higher, making it a near-flawless survivor of the minting process. That combination, extreme rarity, extreme eye appeal, and extreme preservation, creates the sort of perfect storm that auctions live for. When a coin like this appears at auction, bidding wars erupt because collectors know that opportunities to purchase something so rare may never come again. It is the psychology of collecting, the fear of missing out on a piece of history that might not surface again for decades, if ever, drives prices higher and higher, sometimes surpassing logical expectations and moving into the realm of record-breaking valuations. And once a coin achieves a high price at auction, it influences the perception of value for all similar coins, creating momentum, excitement, and a mythology around the coin that fuels its legendary status. People begin to talk about the coin not just as a collectible, but as a once-in-a-generation treasure. Stories spread, demand grows, and speculation inflates the value even more. But beyond the errors and the condition, another factor plays a crucial role in making a coin astronomically valuable: provenance. If the coin has a compelling history, perhaps it was discovered in an old estate hoard, or it was once owned by a famous collector, or its discovery made headlines, these narrative elements amplify desirability. Collectors are not just acquiring metal, they are acquiring a story, and rare coins with stories command extraordinary premiums. Now imagine that this extraordinary 1972 penny, with dramatic doubled features, eye-catching mint mark errors, an off-center strike, a rare planchet composition, an exceptional condition, was found unexpectedly by someone who never considered themselves a collector, maybe discovered in an old jar of change or inherited from a relative's forgotten collection. And suddenly what was thought to be a worthless penny becomes a golden ticket, a life-changing discovery that the numismatic world rushes to authenticate. That moment, whether real or hypothetical, fuels the fascination and excitement behind stories of pennies worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The idea that the next great rarity is still out there, waiting to be found by an unsuspecting person, is part of what makes coin collecting so captivating. So while most 1972 pennies are worth only a cent or a few dollars at most, the potential for extraordinary value lies in those rare, spectacular, jaw-dropping errors that defy the ordinary, the coins that were never meant to exist, the minting miracles born from fleeting moments of mechanical imperfection. And when multiple errors align inside a single coin, especially one that is visually striking, authenticated by experts, desired by collectors, preserved in exceptional condition, and wrapped in a compelling story, the sky becomes the limit, and values like $0.32 million become not only possible but believable within the passionate, competitive, and ever-optimistic world of high-end numismatics, reminding us that even the smallest, humblest. Today we're exploring the extraordinary story of a seemingly ordinary 1995 1-cent USA coin that shocked collectors and experts by being valued at an astonishing $0.23 million, yes, nearly $250,000, despite its face value being only a penny. And what makes this specific coin so special is not simply its age or rarity in the conventional sense, but rather the unusual constellation of minting errors, striking anomalies, die imperfections, planchette irregularities, and mint mark mysteries that have come together to elevate it from a common copper-coated zinc cent into a numismatic legend. And as we begin this journey, you'll discover how an error coin becomes a superstar in the world of collectors, how a mistake can turn into a treasure, and how even a 1-cent piece can possess historical, technical, and monetary significance so captivating that enthusiasts around the world compete fiercely just to have a chance at adding such an exceptional artifact to their collection. And when you think about it, the idea that a tiny, everyday coin could command such an astronomical price sparks curiosity, because most people assume modern Lincoln cents, especially those minted in the 1990s, are practically worthless beyond their face value, being mass-produced by the billions. But the truth is that the US Mint occasionally produces coins with rare defects due to mechanical malfunctions, human oversight, die wear, planchette contamination, off-center striking, double die obverse or reverse impressions, clipped planchets, broad strikes, collar malfunctions, and mint mark anomalies that escape the quality control process and enter circulation. And it is these rare survivors that transform into high-value collectibles. So when discussing the extraordinary 1995 1-cent coin valued at $0.23 million, we are really highlighting a perfect storm of minting abnormalities. A combination so unusual that it turns the coin into a once-in-a-generation discovery. And one of the most talked about possibilities regarding this particular coin is the potential double die error, which occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives more than one misaligned impression from the hub, resulting in prominent doubling of letters, numbers, or details such as Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date itself. And while the 1995 double die obverse cent is already well known among collectors, fetching hundreds or even thousands of dollars when in pristine condition, the idea of an extreme, unclassified, or dramatically misaligned version of this doubling, far more intense than the standard attributed variety, opens a door to a valuation far beyond the typical. And another factor that can catapult a coin's worth into the hundreds of thousands is the presence of a mint mark error. And for those unfamiliar, the mint mark identifies the mint facility where the coin was produced, such as P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco. And although in 1995 the Philadelphia Mint did not typically use a mint mark on Lincoln cents, an erroneous or misplaced mint mark, especially an accidental punch from a different facility, or an inverted or rotated mint mark, would be considered a major blunder and, therefore, an incredibly desirable piece for collectors. And imagine a scenario where a Denver-style D mint mark somehow ended up on a coin struck in Philadelphia, or appeared in the wrong position, angled or doubled, or even partially missing, which would instantly give the coin a unique identity that sets it apart from the billions of regular strikes. And then, beyond the mint mark question, there's always the possibility of a planchette error, because before a coin is struck, it begins as a blank metal disc called a planchette, and any imperfections on the planchette, whether improper alloy mixture, incomplete punching, lamination cracks, foreign material embedded in the metal, or fragments missing from the edges, result in significant deviations from the uniform appearance expected of US coins. And errors like these can dramatically affect value, especially if the planchette was improperly prepared or contaminated during production, causing the finished coin to display surface disruptions, peeling layers, bubbles, or odd coloration that immediately signal rarity to trained eyes. And another possibility is an off-center strike, which happens when the coin is not properly aligned within the striking chamber, resulting in part of the design missing or shifted. And while mild off-center strikes might only affect value modestly, extreme off-center strikes of 50% or more, especially those that still show the full date and mint mark, can be worth thousands or tens of thousands. But if the coin in question featured an unprecedented degree of misalignment, perhaps combined with doubling or a mint mark anomaly, the combined rarity could easily push its value into six-figure territory. And let's not forget broad strike errors, which occur when the collar mechanism fails and the metal expands outward unrestrained, causing a coin to appear wider and flatter than normal, making it immediately identifiable as a striking anomaly. Or multiple strike errors, in which a coin is struck 2, 3, or even 4 times due to mechanical malfunction, leaving overlapping design elements across the surfaces that collectors find irresistibly appealing, especially if the ghosted images are crisp, well-defined, and display major deviations from the expected appearance. And when considering a valuation like $0.23 million, we also need to look at the role of die cracks, die breaks, and cuds, which are raised, irregular lines or blobs caused by fractures in the die. and while small die cracks are fairly common, a massive die break forming into a dramatic cut that alters part of the design, say, obliterating a portion of Lincoln's portrait or distorting the lettering, can transform the coin into an ultra-rare variety. Particularly if combined with other anomalies already present, and another rarely discussed but incredibly important factor is the idea of transitional errors, which occur when the mint accidentally uses the wrong metal composition for a given year due to leftover planches from previous minting periods, and although the official composition of the 1995 Lincoln cent is copper-coated zinc, there's always the slight possibility that leftover copper planches or experimental mixtures were mistakenly used, and if such an error occurred, especially if confirmed by metallurgical analysis, it would instantly elevate the coin into a near-mythic category in numismatics, and what many people don't realize is that value doesn't come solely from the presence of an error itself, but also from the uniqueness, severity, and desirability of that error relative to known varieties. And in the case of a 1995 penny fetching $0.23 million, we would expect an error so extreme that it has no recorded duplicates, making it a one-of-a-kind specimen, essentially a numismatic unicorn, and collectors are willing to pay immense sums for items that cannot be replaced or found elsewhere, especially when authenticated by renowned grading companies such as PCGS or NGC, and grading plays an enormous role because even an incredible error coin will lose a significant amount of value if heavily damaged, corroded, or worn down. But if a coin with a dramatic minting mistake is simultaneously graded at an exceptionally high level, like mint state 65, 66, or higher, the rarity becomes almost unimaginable, as the chances of both a catastrophic minting error and pristine preservation aligning in the same coin are astronomically low. And another important aspect influencing this coin's supposed $0.23 million value is the power of numismatic storytelling. As collectors not only seek objects but narratives, and a coin with a mysterious mint mark error, dramatic doubling, planchette irregularities, and striking anomalies offers a layered history that creates fascination, debate, and prestige within the community, and part of what makes such coins valuable is the uncertainty itself, the lingering questions about how such an error could have escaped the mint, whether it resulted from momentary oversight, an unusual machine malfunction, a rare mechanical defect, or an unexpected transition period in the minting process. And each unanswered question fuels the legend of the coin, giving it an aura that enhances desirability, and when a coin gains notoriety, whether through auctions, media coverage, collector forums, or word-of-mouth stories, its reputation amplifies, generating greater demand, and in the world of collectibles, demand directly influences price, meaning that if enough collectors are captivated by a coin's mystique, bidding wars can propel the value to astonishing heights, sometimes far beyond what experts initially estimated, and the idea of a 1995 penny being worth 23 cents million may sound unbelievable, but history shows that extreme error coins have fetched similarly incredible values when the right blend of rarity, condition, and collector frenzy aligns, and with so many types of potential errors, double dies, off-center strikes, missing mint marks, wrong planches, rotated dies, clipped planches, broad strikes, multi-strikes, die cracks, cuds, lamination flaws, repunched mint marks, or even discover a variety anomalies that have never been catalogued. The possibilities are vast enough to explain such a valuation, and let's also consider the financial psychology behind rare coins, because when a collector recognizes that a coin is one of a kind or nearly so, the desire to own it transforms into a matter of prestige, identity, or competition, and collectors with the means to do so will invest staggering amounts of money to secure such a piece, not simply as a financial investment but also as a symbol of their dedication to the